You are a completely different person when you step into a hotel. And that's exactly what the building was designed to make you. You spend money more impulsively. You eat things you'd never touch at home. And you abandon the routines that usually govern your life. Most of us think this is just the vacation mindset. But researchers have discovered something much more calculated. You aren't just relaxing. You are being re-engineered. Every habit you have was systematically dismantled the moment you stepped into the lobby. The question isn't whether the room changes you. It's how it was specifically built to. To understand how they hack your behavior, we have to go back to the moment you arrived, to the lobby, and the invisible logo that hit your brain before you even saw the front desk.
Walk into almost any mid to upper range hotel, and something reaches you before you've processed any of it consciously. A smell. Warm, specific, faintly familiar without being identifiable. Something between a spa and a library on a slow afternoon. That smell was designed in a laboratory. The Westin hotel chain introduced their signature white tea scent in 1999, making them the first major hospitality brand to understand that a distinctive fragrance could function the way a logo does, as an immediate, pre-rational signal of identity. The scent combines white tea, cedar, and vanilla, chosen from hundreds of candidates based on research into which combinations produce feelings of comfort, safety, and the loosening of the particular mental tightness that travel creates. Westin eventually sold candles and diffusers carrying the same scent, so guests could buy it and take it home. The hotel's psychological influence didn't just meet you at the door. It left with you in your luggage.
The lobby seating is arranged not for efficiency, but for what designers in the hospitality industry call decompression. Curved layouts, soft materials, warm overhead light, clusters of furniture positioned so that guests can see other people without being required to interact with them. There is research behind this, too. The presence of other guests in a lobby, visible, calm, apparently at ease, sends a signal to the arriving traveler that this is a safe environment, that others have made the same choice and found it reasonable. An empty lobby reads differently to the nervous system than a populated one. Hotels know this, which is why many brands invest in lobby cafes and bars that keep the public space active at all hours. And then there is the elevator. Notice where the elevator is. Logic says it should be near the entrance, but in mid to upper range hotels, it's almost always buried in the back. This isn't an architectural oversight. It's a revenue path. The hotel forces you to walk a gauntlet of amenities, the bar, the spa, the high-end retail. Precisely when your traveler's fatigue is at its peak and your willpower is at its lowest. By the time you hit the up button, your brain has already subconsciously mapped out 3 ways to spend money you hadn't planned to. The room itself is where the argument becomes most precise. You open the door, and the first thing you see is the bed. This is not because beds are large and rooms are small. In many hotel rooms, a different arrangement would be possible. The bed faces the entrance because designers know that a traveler arriving after a flight, check-in queue, and after the walk from the elevator is carrying a particular kind of accumulated fatigue, and the sight of something that promises rest triggers a response in the body that is measurable and immediate. The bed is the emotional focal point of the room, positioned to be the first thing that reaches the eye, so that the body begins releasing its held tension before the door has fully closed. The colors in the room were not chosen because the designer liked them. Soft blues, warm grays, muted greens, earthy tones. This palette appears across hotel rooms globally with a consistency that is not coincidence. Research into color psychology in hospitality settings consistently shows these tones lower stress responses and encourage the kind of restfulness that produces positive reviews and repeat bookings. The palette was selected from data. You find it calming because it was built to be calming, and the mechanism of that calm was worked out long before you arrived. The storage is worth paying attention to. Wardrobes that open easily, generous drawer space, a luggage rack positioned at a comfortable height. The ease of unpacking in a hotel room is rarely remarked upon and almost never accidental. Research published in hospitality journals has found that guests who unpack their belongings, move their clothes into drawers, put their toiletries in the bathroom, and place their book on the nightstand report significantly higher satisfaction with their stay and are measurably more likely to book the same property again. The act of unpacking is a territorial claim. The room becomes yours in the way that a rented space can briefly become yours through the placement of your objects inside it. Hotels have known this for long enough that they design the storage to make unpacking as frictionless as possible. They want you to settle. A settled guest is a loyal one. And then, at eye level, close to the bed, positioned so that it is the first thing you see when you wake up in the night and the last thing you register before sleep, is the minibar. The $10 bottle of water in your minibar isn't priced for its value. It's priced for your psychological state. The hotel knows that at 11 p.m., in a room where every home anchor has been removed, your resistance to convenience is at zero. You aren't paying for the water. You're paying a tax on the disorientation the room was designed to create. There is a moment in any hotel stay. It usually arrives on the first evening, sometime between dinner and sleep, when the quality of your thinking changes. Not in a way you would necessarily notice as a shift, but the decisions you make after that moment are different from the decisions you would make at the same hour in your own home. Part of this is tiredness. Travel is tiring, and tiredness reduces the mental effort available for careful decision-making. But there is something else underneath the tiredness, something the research identifies consistently across different traveler types and different hotel categories. And it is this. The hotel room has removed the environmental cues that normally anchor your behavior. At home, your kitchen looks a certain way at 11 o'clock. The light is the same light you've seen at 11 o'clock for years. The sounds are your sounds. The objects around you are your objects, positioned in the places you have chosen for them, carrying the accumulated weight of your own history with them. That context, unique, familiar, deeply personal, is one of the primary mechanisms through which you regulate your behavior without consciously deciding to. You don't eat a second dinner at 11 o'clock at home, not because you've made a deliberate choice, but because the room doesn't feel like a place where that happens. The hotel room feels like a place where different things are possible. The light is set to a temperature someone else chose. The objects around you belong to the building. The sounds are unfamiliar. The smell is someone else's idea of comfort. Every environmental anchor you rely on at home to regulate your habits and impulses has been replaced by a carefully calibrated set of alternatives. And those alternatives were chosen by people who understood precisely what a person freed from their normal context tends to do. A 2025 study tracking psychological ownership in hotel settings, analyzing nearly 15,000 guest reviews, found that the more a hotel can trick you into claiming the room by making unpacking frictionless or personalizing the space, the more loyal you become. It's a brilliant paradox. They make you feel like you own the space, so that you'll feel a sense of belonging to a brand that is effectively charging you for the privilege of feeling at home. This is the most sophisticated thing the hotel does, and the hardest to name clearly. It is not manipulation in the straightforward sense that a supermarket's bakery smell is manipulation, or an airport's composure zone is manipulation. The hotel gives you something real. The rest is real too. But the conditions around that rest, the temperature of the light, the placement of the bed, the scent that was already in the air when you arrived, were built by people who had studied what a tired, disoriented person away from their normal environment tends to want, and what they tend to reach for when that want goes unexamined. The scent is worth returning to, because what Weston understood in 1999 and what dozens of hotel brands have built on since goes further than most guests ever think about.
A 2011 study found that scent is tied to memory with roughly 4 times the recall power of any other sense. Hotels know this in a way that goes beyond atmospheric pleasantness. The signature scent of a hotel is not designed to make the lobby smell nice. It is designed to make the lobby unforgettable in a specific way, to create a sensory memory so precise that encountering that smell anywhere else in the world triggers the emotional state the hotel worked to produce. Warmth, safety, the looseness of someone who has checked in and set their bags down and doesn't have to be anywhere for a while. Marriott integrates a subtle citrus fragrance across properties, reported to increase positive online reviews. The Ritz-Carlton's signature scent, built around grapefruit and driftwood, is the most searched hotel fragrance online, with guests actively seeking to recreate it at home. The Hard Rock Hotel in Orlando once released a waffle cone and sugar cookie scent near an out-of-the-way ice cream shop and saw sales jump 45% in the first 6 months. Scent is not a background detail in hotel design. It is infrastructure. What is interesting about this is not the commercial intention behind it. Every business operates with commercial intention. What is interesting is the mechanism. The hotel is using the most direct route the human brain has to memory and emotion. The olfactory system, which connects to the limbic region where both are processed, to create an association between a smell and a feeling, and then to send that association home with you. You don't just remember a hotel, you carry it. On some level, without being asked, you take it with you. And when the scent finds you again, in a shop or a spa or a friend's bathroom, something in you returns to the room before your conscious mind is caught up. There is a question worth sitting with once you've seen all of this clearly. And it is not the question you might expect. It is whether any of this is wrong. Whether a hotel that designs its scent to create loyalty, that positions its minibar to catch you at your most tired, that calibrates the light to produce a unique emotional state, is doing something that should make you suspicious or resistant. The more interesting question is why it works so consistently, on so many different kinds of people, in so many different parts of the world. And the answer to that question is not about hotel design at all. It is about what the hotel understood that you may not have articulated to yourself, that a significant part of who you are at any given moment is a product of where you are. The behaviors you think of as yours, the habits, the restraints, the relationship you have with things like spending and eating and sleep, are not purely internal. They are maintained in part by the environment that surrounds you. Change the environment, and you change the person. Not permanently, but enough to matter, and enough that the hotel industry has built a considerable portion of its business model around it. One leading hotel designer put it this way: the goal is not to make guests feel at home. A hotel is meant to be an escape from home, something different, something that lives in the mind as a version of yourself you don't ordinarily get access to. The hotel doesn't want you to feel comfortable in the way your living room is comfortable. It wants to move you somewhere beyond that, into a version of the experience that is slightly more than what your ordinary life provides. That aspiration is genuine. The rest and the comfort are real. The food is real. The sleep is real. The brief suspension of ordinary obligation is real. None of that is invented. But the version of yourself that orders the room service and opens the minibar and books the spa treatment
and leaves a review that says you felt completely at home. That version was carefully prepared for. The room was waiting for you before you arrived. It knew, in broad terms, what you would want and what you would reach for and what you would be willing to pay to feel, for a few days, like the kind of person who stays in places like this. You checked out. The room reset for the next guest. And somewhere in the city you're in now, a version of that room is being prepared for someone who hasn't arrived yet. The bed is already positioned to face the door. The scent is already in the air. The minibar is already stocked, at eye level, close to the bed. The room has been thinking about you longer than you've been thinking about it.